Charlotte's shoe sat beneath the council table, buckled, polished, alone. It had been logged in storage an hour earlier. I stopped walking. The corridor camera blinked green when it should have been dark. No voices, no alarms, just the shoe and the live feed. Protocol said continue to the briefing. Instinct said the room ahead had already decided something without me. Charlotte was sitting where children were never seated alone. The antechamber outside the Western Council rooms was meant for aides standing traffic only. No chairs, no toys, no waiting. Yet she sat on the low window bench, hands folded in her lap, shoes aligned beneath her knees as if placed by someone else. The guard registered the detail before he registered her face. That was training. Then he saw her eyes lift to him, already expecting him to arrive. He stopped short of protocol distance. The corridor behind him hummed with ventilation and nothing else. No footfalls, no radio chatter. The palace, usually layered with sound, felt selectively muted. "Where is your detail?" he asked. Charlotte's answer came without hesitation. "I was told to wait." "Told by whom?" She tilted her head slightly, a movement too precise for uncertainty. "Someone official." That was not an answer a child arrived at on her own. The guard keyed his throat mic once. No response tone. He checked again, slower. Still nothing. His wrist console showed no alerts, no reroutes, no deviation flags. According to the system, Charlotte had never left her assigned route. According to his eyes, she had been repositioned deliberately and quietly. He took one step closer, lowering himself to one knee, not for comfort but to match her eye line. Her breathing was steady. Her hands did not fidget. She had been coached to appear calm. "Did they say how long you were to wait?" he asked. She shook her head. A pause, then carefully, "They said you would come." The guard felt the pressure settle between his shoulders. Someone had anticipated him specifically. That narrowed the field of authority involved, and none of the possibilities improved the situation. He rose and positioned himself between Charlotte and the corridor junction. It was a subtle shift, technically still within escort posture, though no escort had been assigned. His body now blocked the nearest camera's clear angle on her face. That alone was a deviation. He scanned again. The antechamber camera indicator glowed green. Live. It should have been cycling red on standby until council hours. Someone had activated it early. "Charlotte," he said, keeping his voice level, "has anyone asked you to go somewhere else today?" She hesitated. It was the first break in her composure, not fear, calculation. She glanced toward the council doors, then back to him. "They said it was important," she replied. "They said you would understand." The guard did not like instructions that used his authority as reassurance without his consent. He straightened, bringing his hand briefly to his collar as if adjusting it. The motion masked a manual override attempt on his internal recorder. It engaged silently. If the system was awake, he would be as well. He activated local lockdown on the antechamber doors, partial, temporary, framed as a safety pause. It would register as a delay, not an obstruction. That bought him 90 seconds before escalation protocols noticed. "Stand up, please," he said. She complied immediately, too immediately. Children usually asked why. As he guided her 2 steps closer to him, he noticed a thin red indentation on her wrist already fading. Not injury pressure. A guiding hand held too firmly, too long. He did not comment on it. Not yet. His console vibrated once. A private channel request. No identifier. He declined it. The council doors ahead unlocked with a soft mechanical acknowledgement. No one had requested entry. No guard had announced arrival. The door simply decided it was time to open. The guard tightened his stance, one hand resting near Charlotte's shoulder without touching. He did not move her forward. Inside the chamber, voices paused. He waited for someone to speak first. No one did. The silence stretched just long enough to become intentional. The council chamber smelled faintly of polished wood and cold electronics. Lights were set to session brightness, not meeting mode. That alone confirmed premeditation. 3 figures stood near the table, spaced deliberately apart as if distance itself was a position. None wore ceremonial dress. Authority stripped of costume. The guard stepped just inside the threshold, enough to trigger the room sensors. He did not release Charlotte. No escort was logged, one of the men said calmly, civil service tone, observational, not accusatory. No movement was logged, the guard replied. That is the problem. The woman near the window turned slightly. She did not look at Charlotte, she looked at him. The child was relocated for efficiency. You were expected to retrieve H. Yours. Retrieve implies consent, the guard said, and documentation. A beat passed. Someone adjusted a datapad. The sound was loud in the quiet. Charlotte shifted her weight, not away from him, toward him. A small movement, unconscious but decisive. Her sleeve brushed his wrist. He felt it through the glove. Charlotte, the woman said then, voice softened by design, come here, please. The guard did not tighten his grip. He simply did not move. Protocol allowed him 3 seconds to comply with a direct instruction issued in council authority. He used none of them yet. She remains under active protection, he said, until relieved by written order. The man nearest the table exhaled through his nose. You are delaying. I am verifying. Verification is not required, the woman said. This is a controlled environment. The guard glanced at the camera indicator. Still green, still live, good. Controlled by whom? He asked. No one answered immediately. That too was an answer. Charlotte spoke before any of them could recalibrate. They told me not to be afraid, she said, not loudly, not pleading, simply stating a fact. The woman's jaw tightened just slightly. The guard noted it and filed it away. Who told you that? He asked Charlotte without looking down. She looked past him into the room. Someone who said it wasn't a choice. That was enough. The guard reached up and keyed his recorder fully open. No mute, no buffer. The action was visible, unmistakable. If they intended this to remain quiet, he had just removed that option. I am formally requesting clarification of authority, he said, on record. The man by the table straightened. You are exceeding your remit. I am within child protection statute, the guard replied, which supersedes situational convenience. The council doors behind him slid closed, not locked, a reminder. The woman stepped forward now, closing the distance by half. She was careful not to approach the child directly. Hand her over, she said, not raised, not harsh, final. The words landed heavier than volume ever could. The guard did not respond immediately. He felt Charlotte's sleeve tighten against his wrist, not a grip, a question. He answered it without words, shifting his stance so his body fully shielded her from the room. I cannot, he said, not like this. Silence again, thicker this time, dangerous. Somewhere in the palace, a system registered a refusal. The camera light remained green. And the room, for the first time since he entered, felt like it might push back. The first pressure came from the ceiling. A soft click, almost polite, followed by a shift in airflow. The chamber's environmental system adjusted, cooling by 2 degrees. It was a containment response disguised as comfort. The guard felt it immediately along his neck and wrists. Charlotte did not react. She had already learned that stillness was safer than curiosity. The woman did not repeat the order. She did not need to. Authority often worked best when it waited. The guard's console pulsed again. This time the channel identifier resolved, internal security oversight. He did not answer. Accepting would remove the interaction from the room and place it somewhere less visible. That was the intent. Escort protocols are suspended, the man at the table said. He spoke as if clarifying a misunderstanding. You have been verbally reassigned. Verbals do not supersede custody, the guard replied. Not with a minor. You are obstructing an internal process. I am containing an undocumented one. Charlotte shifted her feet. One shoe brushed the other, leather against leather. The sound cut through the room. The guard glanced down just long enough to see that her laces were still perfectly tied. Someone had taken care with her appearance. That detail unsettled him more than force would have. The woman stepped back, recalibrating. We are not removing her from protection, she said. We are adjusting who provides it. Without escort, the guard said. With discretion. That is not the same. Another pause. The council table screen flickered, bringing up a schedule overlay. Names, times, locations, everything except authorizations. The guard recognized the tactic, overwhelm with structure to mask the absence of legitimacy. You will stand down, the man said quietly. This is your final instruction before escalation. Escalation meant formal review, temporary suspension, possible removal from active duty. It did not mean immediate danger to him. That was intentional. Pressure worked better when it threatened the future, not the present. Charlotte looked up at him. She did not ask anything. Her expression had changed, though less composed now, more attentive. She was reading the room, learning who would move and who would not. The guard made a decision that could not be undone. He keyed an external ping, not to oversight but to the palace duty log, a neutral system. It would record his location, his scent, address, and one additional line of free text. Child present, custody maintained, awaiting written relief. The entry locked itself, time-stamped, immutable. The woman's eyes flicked to the ceiling again. She knew what he had done. You are making this difficult, she said. I am making it traceable. The chamber door unlocked behind him with a muted tone. An invitation, not an order. Someone wanted movement, any movement, to reframe the situation. Charlotte, the woman said carefully, would you like to come with me? The guard felt the shift before Charlotte answered. The question was designed to bypass him entirely, to turn choice into consent and consent into compliance. Charlotte looked at the woman, then at the man by the table, then back at the guard. No, she said. The word was small, it landed hard. The guard exhaled once, slow and controlled. He adjusted his stance again, this time openly placing his hand at Charlotte's shoulder, a clear signal, a boundary drawn in plain sight. The room changed, not louder, more focused. Somewhere outside the chamber, footsteps approached, multiple, deliberate. Authority was arriving in motion now, not words. And the guard understood that whatever came next would not be clean. The footsteps stopped just outside the door. Not guards, too measured, too evenly spaced. Advisors, likely. People whose power traveled ahead of them so they rarely had to enter a room quickly. The door remained closed. No one announced themselves. The pause was intentional, an opportunity for reconsideration. The guard did not take it. He angled his body slightly, positioning Charlotte closer to the wall and farther from the council table. It was a defensive placement without the appearance of one. Anyone watching the feed would see compliance posture, not resistance. Anyone in the room would know better. His console chimed once, a system-level acknowledgement of his log entry. It was no longer just a note. It was now a marker. The man at the table spoke again, his tone adjusted downward. You are creating exposure. Yes, the guard said, to prevent harm. The woman's gaze flicked briefly to Charlotte's wrist. She had noticed the fading mark now. The calculation shifted again. Too many small details had accumulated. Each one alone was defensible. Together, they were not. Escort reinstatement can be arranged, she said, temporarily. Then arrange it, the guard replied. He did not raise his voice. He did not hurry her. The door opened. Two senior aides entered, followed by a uniformed security coordinator. No weapons drawn, no urgency displayed. The coordinator's eyes went first to Charlotte, then to the guard's hand at her shoulder, then to the live camera indicator. He understood the geometry immediately. "What is the status?" the coordinator asked. "Internal reassignment," the man at the table said. "Without escort," the guard added. The coordinator did not respond right away. He checked his own console, frowned, checked again. "There is no written transfer," he said finally. The woman's lips pressed into a thin line. "It is being prepared." "It should have preceded movement," the coordinator said. "Not defiant, factual." The balance in the room tipped, not fully, but enough to be felt. Charlotte shifted again, closer now. Her shoulder touched the guard's arm. He did not look down. He did not need to. The contact anchored his position more firmly than any protocol language. The man at the table leaned forward. "This delay is unnecessary." "It is now required," the coordinator replied. "The record is active." Silence returned, but it was no longer owned by one side. The woman took a breath, then released it slowly. "Very well," she said. "Temporary hold. Escort will be reinstated pending review." She looked directly at the guard for the first time. "You will accompany her to holding Suite C. You will remain there. You will not leave your post." "Understood," the guard said. The doors opened again, this time fully. The corridor beyond was no longer empty. Personnel stood spaced at regulation intervals, too visible to be accidental, too late to be reassuring. As the guard guided Charlotte forward, the woman spoke once more. "This is not over." "No," he agreed. They moved down the corridor together. The temperature normalized behind them. The camera indicator switched from green to amber as they exited the chamber. The live feed ended, but the record did not. Charlotte looked up at him as they walked. "Am I in trouble?" "No," the guard said. "Are you?" He considered the question, then answered honestly, "Possibly." She nodded, absorbing it without fear. Children in her position learned quickly what adults avoided saying. They reached holding Suite C, the door sealed behind them with a heavy, final sound. Inside, the room was bare, secure, and very quiet. The guard remained standing. He did not relax, because the authority that had failed to move her once would not stop trying. And next time it would come with paper. Holding Suite C was designed to look neutral. No insignia, no portraits. The walls were a color chosen to provoke no response. The lighting was even and shadowless, calibrated to prevent fatigue during long procedural waits. It was a room meant to suspend time, not resolve it. The guard stood near the door, back straight, eyes forward. Charlotte sat on the single chair by the table. She did not swing her legs. She placed her hands flat on the surface, fingers aligned. Someone had taught her how to wait properly. The door indicator remained red, locked from the outside. The guard checked his console. His status read, active holding, no duration, no next action. That omission was deliberate. It allowed whoever controlled the situation to decide when time resumed. Charlotte broke the silence first. "They're going to send someone else." "Yes," the guard said. "Someone higher?" "Yes." She nodded once, as if confirming a prediction. "They said that too." The guard did not ask who they were. Each answer narrowed options he was not yet ready to confront. The room temperature dropped again, less than before. A reminder, not containment. The guard felt it along the backs of his hands. A tone sounded at the door panel. Not an alarm, a request. The panel illuminated. "Access pending, senior authority." The guard did not move to open it. The system would require his biometric confirmation to allow anyone inside while custody was active. That requirement existed precisely for moments like this. The panel chimed again, polite, persistent. Remain seated, he told Charlotte. She complied immediately. The panel voice activated, calm, female, familiar. Open the door. The guard did not respond. This is a direct instruction, the voice continued. You are to relinquish temporary custody and step aside. The phrasing was precise. Temporary, step aside, words chosen to minimize the act. The guard stepped closer to the panel instead. He placed his palm against the biometric reader but did not engage it. The system registered presence without permission. Identify authority, he said. A pause, then, you know who this is. Yes, he replied. That is not identification. Another pause, longer this time. Somewhere beyond the door a calculation adjusted. Open the door, the voice said again, sharper now. This delay is unnecessary. Then it should end with documentation, the guard said. On record. The room camera activated. He heard the faint click behind him. The light switched from standby to active. Someone had decided visibility was preferable to resistance. Charlotte shifted in her chair. The sound of the legs scraping lightly against the floor echoed too loudly. The guard glanced back. Her composure was thinning just at the edges. It's okay, he said quietly. She looked at him, then at the door. Are they angry? Yes, he said, but not at you. The door panel beeped again. A different tone this time. Override attempt. Blocked. The voice returned, closer now. No longer mediated by the panel. The speaker was standing directly outside. You are misinterpreting your role, Camilla said. Her voice carried authority without strain. Hand Charlotte over. The guard felt the moment settle into place. This was the closed chamber, not the room, but the situation. No audience now but the system and the child behind him. He turned fully toward the door, placing his body squarely between it and Charlotte. State the order formally, he said, for the record. Silence. Then the camera light brightened, and the system began recording at full fidelity. The recording tone sounded soft, unmistakable. Camilla did not raise her voice. She did not need to. I am instructing you to transfer custody of Princess Charlotte into my care, she said. Each word was placed carefully, as if already aware it would be replayed. This instruction is issued under senior household authority. The guard did not respond immediately. He watched the biometric panel register her presence outside the door. The system displayed her clearance level without commentary. It was sufficient to enter the room. It was not sufficient to override active child protection without concurrence. He spoke only after the system finished, tagging the audio. Clarify scope, he said. Duration, escort, destination. A pause followed. Not uncertainty, control. He imagined her considering which omissions would be least vulnerable later. Duration is until further notice, she said. Escort will be arranged. Destination will be determined once compliance is achieved. The guard felt the pressure tighten. Each answer violated a different protection threshold. Together, they crossed into something else. Those conditions are not compliant, he said. I cannot execute the order as stated. The word cannot mattered, not will not. It framed the refusal as procedural, not personal. Charlotte inhaled sharply behind him. He heard it, filed it, did not turn. Camilla's tone shifted, not louder but colder. You are not empowered to evaluate senior intent. I am empowered to prevent undocumented transfer of a minor, he replied. On record. Silence again. The system clock ticked audibly in the room, a feature meant to remind occupants that time was measurable even when authority was not. You are forcing a conflict, Camilla said. No, the guard replied. I am containing one. The door handle moved slightly, tested, not forced, a reminder of physical reality. Charlotte, Camilla said then, bypassing him again, come to the door. The guard's hand rose a fraction, not to stop her but to signal presence. Charlotte did not stand. She did not answer. The silence that followed was not defiance. It was reliance. Camilla exhaled, slowly. This will have consequences. Yes, the guard said. For you. Yes. Another pause. Then a sound the guard had not expected, a soft acknowledgement tone from the system, not a warning, an annotation. Refusal recorded, legal review required. The system had classified the interaction on its own. Camilla did not speak immediately. When she did, the words were different. You are relieved of discretionary authority, she said. Remain in place. The guard's console updated. His status shifted to active, restricted. He was still on duty. He was no longer movable. That is acceptable, he said. The door panel dimmed. The camera remained active. Footsteps retreated outside. Not hurried, not defeated, strategic. Charlotte spoke quietly. Is it finished? No, the guard said, but it has changed. She nodded, absorbing that with the same unsettling composure she had shown all day. The room settled into a new stillness, one defined not by waiting but by anticipation. Somewhere beyond the walls, paperwork would begin to move, committees would be notified, words would be weighed. But the record already existed. And for the first time since the shoe in the corridor, the guard allowed himself one controlled breath, knowing that the next phase would not be decided in whispers, but in ink. The knock came from inside the walls. Not a sound, an alert. The guard felt it through the console before he heard it through the room, a system-level priority request, flagged procedural, not urgent. That distinction mattered. Urgent requests bypassed review. Procedural ones built a case while pretending not to. His status remained active, restricted. Charlotte's status did not display at all. Protected assets never did. The panel illuminated again. Different identifier this time, oversight registry. The guard did not acknowledge it immediately. He turned his head slightly enough to see Charlotte without alarming her. She sat as she had before, but her hands were no longer flat on the table. One thumb rubbed slowly against the other. The first tell of stress, controlled, contained. It's just a question, he said quietly. You don't have to answer anything unless I say. She nodded once. He accepted the channel. The voice that came through was male, measured, unfamiliar. This is Registry Counsel. We are reviewing an active refusal logged under your designation. Understood, the guard replied. You are aware that refusal under senior household instruction carries consequences. Yes. State your justification. The guard did not look at the panel. He kept his eyes on the far wall, where the camera's reflection faintly mirrored the room. The order lacked scope, duration, escort confirmation, and written authorization. The subject is a minor under continuous protection. A pause, the sound of typing distant but audible. You are aware that senior household authority may issue verbal directives. Yes, the guard said, not for undocumented child transfer. Another pause, longer this time. Camilla has submitted a supplemental clarification, the voice said. She is prepared to restate the order with amendments. The guard felt the shift immediately. This was escalation disguised as compromise. Will it be on record? He asked. Yes. In this room? Yes. Then proceed. The channel closed. The room temperature adjusted again, this time upward. Comfort restored. A signal, cooperation was being rewarded. The door unlocked. Camilla entered alone. No aides, no coordinator, no entourage, just her, dressed plainly, posture immaculate. Authority distilled to its most dangerous form, personal. The guard stood. Charlotte remained seated. Camilla glanced at the child, then at the guard. You've made a situation unnecessarily rigid, she said. I've made it visible, he replied. She inclined her head slightly, acknowledging the distinction without conceding it. Very well. She stepped into the camera's field deliberately, waited a fraction of a second, then spoke. "I am issuing a formal instruction," she said, voice even. "You are to transfer Princess Charlotte into my temporary custody for a scheduled private consultation. Duration, 1 hour. Escort, household appointed. Security to be named upon transfer. Location, private residence wing." The guard listened without interruption. He catalogued each clause, each fix, each remaining gap. "State escort names," he said. "They will be assigned." "State them now." Camilla's eyes hardened. "That is not required." "It is," he said, "before transfer." Silence settled again, heavier than before. This time it was not strategic, it was friction. Charlotte looked up at Camilla then, just once. Her face was open, expectant, not afraid but searching. Camilla held her gaze for a moment too long. The guard felt something tighten in his chest, not emotion, but alignment. Instinct and protocol converging instead of colliding. "Hand her over," Camilla said again. The words were identical, the context was not. The camera light glowed steady. The system waited. And the guard understood that whatever he said next would not be contained by this room. The guard did not answer immediately. He watched the system clock in the corner of his console tick forward. Each second was being captured. Each pause would be interpreted later by people who were not in the room, who would slow the moment down and search for hesitation. Camilla remained still. She had delivered the order. In her calculus, the burden had shifted. The guard turned slightly, just enough to check Charlotte's posture. She had straightened. Her hands were still now, waiting again. He recognized the discipline. It did not come from confidence. It came from long exposure to rooms like this. He faced Camilla. "The escort is undefined," he said. "The destination is internal but unspecified within the wing. The duration lacks oversight conditions." Camilla's expression did not change. "You are parsing." "I am executing." She stepped closer, not toward Charlotte, toward him, close enough that the camera would register the reduced distance as engagement, not confrontation. "You are overextending your authority," she said, quietly, for him alone. The guard did not lower his voice in return. "You are underextending yours." A flicker crossed her face, surprise quickly suppressed. Charlotte shifted in her chair. The scrape of wood against floor sounded again, sharper this time. The guard felt it behind him like a pressure point. "Charlotte," Camilla said, without looking away from the guard, "stand up." The guard moved at the same time, not to block but to interpose his presence in Charlotte's line of sight. His hand lifted, palm outward, not a stop, a pause. "She will remain seated," he said. "This is not your decision. It is while custody remains active." Camilla turned her head then, finally looking at the child again. "Do you trust him?" she asked. The question was not meant for Charlotte. It was meant to redefine the room. Charlotte answered anyway, "Yes." The word landed cleanly. No tremor, no delay. The system logged it as ambient audio. Camilla inhaled slowly. "Very well," she said. "We will proceed differently." She turned back to the guard. "You will accompany us." "That alters the order," he said. "Yes," she replied. "I am amending it." She faced the camera again. "Amended instruction, transfer Princess Charlotte into my temporary custody with the guard remaining present at all times. Duration, 1 hour. Escort, the guard. Location, private residence wing, west corridor." The guard processed it. The structure was now complete. The danger lay elsewhere. "State purpose," he said. Camilla's eyes narrowed. "That is not required." "It is," he said, "for a private consultation involving a minor." The silence that followed was no longer procedural. It was personal. Camilla held his gaze. For the first time since entering the room, her composure showed strain, not anger but calculation under pressure. "Family matters," she said finally. The guard shook his head once. "Insufficient." The system chimed softly. "Conflicting authority, escalation advised." The words hung between them, invisible but heavy. Camilla stepped back. Her voice, when it came, was colder than before. "You are recording yourself into a corner." "Yes," the guard said, "so no one else has to." Charlotte stood up then, not because she was told to, but because the room had reached a point where stillness no longer protected her. The guard's hand settled lightly at her back, not guiding, supporting. Camilla looked at the child, then at the guard, then at the camera. "This will not end the way you think," she said. "I know," the guard replied. Outside the room, distant voices rose, multiple now. Oversight arriving in numbers. Too late to prevent the record, too early to resolve it. The camera continued to roll. And the guard understood that the next decision would not be his alone, but it would still be judged by what he did next. The room filled before the decision was announced. Not bodies, signals, consoles updating outside the door, clearance pings, status changes cascading through systems that preferred documentation to people. Guard felt it in the delay between his console vibrations, in the way the air no longer adjusted automatically. Control was fragmenting. Charlotte stood beside him now, not pressed against him, close enough to matter. The camera light remained steady. No blinking, no buffering. Someone had locked the feed to prevent interruption. That, more than anything else, told the guard this moment had crossed a threshold. Camilla did not speak again immediately. She waited, letting the room's silence work on him. Authority often relied on the assumption that someone else would break first. He did not. "State your compliance," she said at last. The guard inhaled once, slow, measured. He did not look at Charlotte when he spoke. He kept his eyes level, voice even. "I refuse." The word landed without force. No emphasis, no apology. The system registered it instantly. Formal refusal, justification required. He did not wait for the prompt. "I am refusing transfer of custody under the presented order," he said. "The stated purpose is insufficient. The authority chain conflicts with child protection statutes. The risk profile is undefined." Camilla's expression did not change. Her stillness was practiced, dangerous. "You understand what this means," she said. "Yes." "For your career." "Yes." "For your standing." "Yes." She stepped closer again, stopping just inside the camera's focal range. "You are choosing instinct over protocol." "No," the guard said. "I am choosing protocol that was written for this exact situation." A flicker of irritation crossed her face, gone in a heartbeat. Charlotte shifted her weight. The guard felt it through the floor. He placed his hand gently at her shoulder again, not restraining, not guiding. Present. Outside the room, the door panel illuminated. "Oversight entry requested." Camilla glanced at it, then back at him. "You have forced escalation." "Yes," he said. The panel chimed again, louder this time. Camilla did not grant entry, neither did the guard. For a moment, no one did. "Charlotte," Camilla said, turning to her once more, "do you know why this is happening?" The guard spoke before Charlotte could answer. "That is not appropriate." Camilla's gaze snapped back to him. "You are not her parent." "No," he said, "I am her guard." The distinction mattered. Charlotte looked up at him then. Her voice was quiet. "Am I safe?" He answered immediately, "Yes." The certainty in his tone was not performative. It was operational. The system chimed again. "Oversight entry authorized by panel." The door unlocked halfway. A safety stop engaged. Someone outside had partial control now, but not full access. Shared authority. Messy. Public. Camilla exhaled through her nose. This is becoming inefficient. Child protection often is, the guard replied. The door opened fully. Two oversight officials entered, followed by the security coordinator from earlier. Their eyes took in the scene quickly, the camera, the child, the proximity. They understood what had already happened. No one asked for a summary. "We are here to assess an active refusal," one of the officials said. The guard nodded. "It has been stated on record." Camilla stepped back, reclaiming composure. This guard has exceeded his remit. "He has invoked it," the coordinator said quietly. Charlotte's hand brushed the guard's sleeve, not seeking reassurance, acknowledging presence. The oversight official turned to the guard. "You understand that refusal obligates immediate containment pending review?" "Yes," the guard said. "And you understand that custody may be reassigned during that review?" "Yes." The official looked at Charlotte, then back at him. "Do you maintain your refusal?" The guard did not hesitate. "Yes." The room stilled again, but this time the silence belonged to no one. And the guard understood that the next consequence would not be theoretical. It would move. The oversight official nodded once, as if confirming a calculation already made. "Then containment proceeds," he said, not to the guard, to the room. The coordinator tapped his console. The guard felt his own status shift again. Active containment. His permissions narrowed but did not disappear. That detail mattered. Someone had decided not to strip him completely. Not yet. Camilla remained still, hands loosely folded. She did not protest. Protest implied uncertainty. She had already adjusted to the new phase. Charlotte was guided, not touched, back to the chair by the table. The guard moved with her, positioning himself between her and the door again, though now the geometry was more crowded. Oversight personnel stood near the wall, deliberately not forming a barrier. The optics were careful. "We will require separation for the duration of review," the official said. "No," the guard replied. The word was calm. It landed hard. The official looked at him. "That is not optional." "It is while custody remains unresolved," the guard said. "Separation introduces unnecessary distress." "And the risk." The official hesitated, a brief glance to the coordinator, another to Camilla. The room waited. Charlotte spoke before anyone else could. "I don't want to be alone." No tremor, no plea, a statement of fact. The official exhaled. "Very well, proximity maintained, no contact." The guard adjusted his stance, hands visible, posture neutral. He did not argue the condition. He logged it. Time slowed into segments. Questions were asked not of Charlotte but around her, authority references, statute citations, procedural language designed to sound neutral while carrying weight. The guard answered when addressed, briefly, precisely. He did not volunteer narrative. Narrative could be shaped. Facts were harder to move. Camilla spoke once, outlining her position without raising her voice. Family context, household prerogative, the need for discretion. Each point was clean, each avoided specifics. When it was the guard's turn again, the oversight official asked, "What outcome are you seeking?" "I am not seeking an outcome," he replied. "I am preventing an unverified transfer." "That is not sustainable," the official said. "Neither is removing a child without cause," the guard replied. Another pause, longer now. The review clock ticked visibly on the wall panel. Time was becoming a factor they could all see. The coordinator's console chimed. He frowned, then straightened. "Additional oversight has been notified," he said. "External." Camilla's head turned sharply, just for a moment. External oversight changed everything. It meant the record would not stay inside the palace. It meant assumptions would be questioned by people who did not owe allegiance to the household. "This has gone too far," Camilla said. "Yes," the guard replied. "That was inevitable." The door indicator flashed again. External observer ETA 3 minutes. Charlotte looked up at him. Will they take me? He met her eyes. Not without a reason, he said. She considered that, then nodded. The acceptance was unsettling. Children should not have to weigh reasons adults might use against them. The oversight official rubbed his temple once. Fatigue, not doubt. If external review concurs, custody may be frozen. Then it should be, the guard said. The official looked at him for a long moment. You understand that if they do not, your refusal will be judged harshly. Yes. The room fell quiet again, not tense, anticipatory. Footsteps approached outside, different cadence, not palestraned, not deferential. The door began to unlock. And the guard understood that whatever authority entered next would not be shaped by tradition, but by what had been captured minute by minute, while everyone else waited for someone to blink. The door opened without ceremony. No chime, no announcement, just a mechanical release followed by the quiet pressure change of a new presence entering the room. The guard noted it before he turned. External oversight moved differently, less aware of palace choreography, more attuned to documentation than deference. Two individuals entered, plain attire, identification badges worn openly, not symbolically. They paused just inside the threshold, allowing the camera to register them fully. That was intentional. Everything from this point forward would be shared. The older of the two spoke first. We're assuming review authority. Camilla stiffened almost imperceptibly. She did not object. Objection would confirm loss of control. The oversight official stepped aside, ceding space without retreating. The room subtly reoriented itself around the newcomers. Power had shifted again, not upward but outward. Status, the external observer said. The coordinator answered. Active refusal, child present, custody contested. The observer nodded once, then looked directly at the guard, not with suspicion, with assessment. State your position. The guard did not adjust his posture. I am maintaining custody pending verified transfer authority. I have refused an order lacking sufficient safeguards. And the child, the observer asked. Remains protected, the guard said. No harm, no separation. Charlotte sat quietly, eyes moving between speakers. She was tracking authority now, learning which voices carried weight. The guard watched her hands. They were steady again. The observer turned to Camilla. Your instruction. Camilla answered evenly. Temporary custody for a private consultation. The guard has obstructed. Purpose, the observer asked. Camilla hesitated, just long enough. Family-related, she said. The observer made a note. The sound of the stylus against the pad was louder than it should have been. Family matters involving minors, the observer said, require justification when protection protocols are engaged. This is unprecedented, Camilla replied. No, the observer said, it's documented. The camera light flickered once as the system adjusted priority. External authority now held the feed. The observer turned back to the G. Ward, have you observed any indication of distress or coercion? The guard answered carefully. I observed unauthorized relocation, coaching behavior, physical guidance inconsistent with escort standards. Camilla's eyes narrowed. That is an interpretation. It is an observation, the guard said. Charlotte shifted in her chair. The observer noticed. Charlotte, she said gently, you don't have to answer anything, but are you comfortable where you are? Charlotte looked at the guard first. He gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. Permission, not instruction. Yes, Charlotte said. The word settled the room. The observer closed her pad. Custody freeze, she said. Effective immediately. No transfer pending full review. The coordinator exhaled audibly. Relief or release. Camilla's composure held, but the air around her tightened. This is excessive. It's preventative, the observer replied, and temporary. The guard felt his status update again. Active, holding, external. His permission stabilized. The threat shifted from immediate to enduring. We will need a private statement from the guard, the observer said. Later. Understood, the guard replied. And the child will remain here. Yes, the observer said, with him. Camilla turned toward the door. She did not look at Charlotte as she left. That omission was noted by more than one person. The door closed. The room quieted, not into safety but into pause. Charlotte leaned slightly toward the guard. Is it finished now? No, he said, but it's contained. She nodded, accepting the distinction. Outside, the palace resumed its controlled rhythm. Inside, the guard remained standing, aware that containment was not an end state. It was a holding pattern. And holding patterns by design could not last. Time began to behave differently once the freeze was declared. Not slower, denser. Each minute carried more weight than the last. The guard felt it in the way no one spoke unless necessary, in how movements became deliberate again, stripped of performance. Authority had stopped posturing. Now it was documenting. The external observer took position near the wall, not seated, not pacing, watching. The oversight officials remained but no longer led. Camilla did not return. Charlotte swung one foot once, then stopped herself. She glanced at the guard, almost apologetic. You can move, he said quietly. You're not on display. She let her heel touch the floor again. The sound was small, human. It mattered. A notification pulsed on the guard's console. Statement requested preliminary. He acknowledged it without opening the channel. Not yet. Words spoken too early became anchors later. The observer noticed. We'll take your statement separately, she said. Not here. Thank you, the guard replied. Another alert followed. Security realignment in progress. The palace was adjusting its internal map. Who could go where? Who could authorize what? Containment expanded outward now, touching corridors, schedules, access nodes. Charlotte watched the light on the door panel change from red to amber. What does that mean? It means people are being careful, the guard said. She considered that. They weren't before. No, he agreed. The observer checked her pad again. We'll be relocating both of you shortly, she said. Not far, a neutral holding space. The guard's jaw tightened slightly. Together. Yes. And custody remains unchanged. Yes. He nodded, acceptance not trust. The door opened again. This time it was a junior security officer, eyes wide, posture rigid. He stopped just inside, waiting to be acknowledged. The observer nodded to him. West Corridor is locked down, he said. Private residence wing access suspended. A ripple moved through the room. That wing had not been restricted in decades. Camilla's reach had finally met resistance with infrastructure behind it. Charlotte looked up at the guard. Did you do that? No, he said. The system did. She nodded. That answer seemed to comfort her more. They were escorted, not led, out of holding suite C minutes later. The corridor was empty, cleared in advance. Lights at half brightness. Cameras tracking, not blinking. The guard noted each lens, each reflection, each corner where someone might later say they hadn't seen enough. The new room was smaller. No table, 2 chairs, 1 window opaque. A holding space designed for waiting without isolation. Charlotte sat. This time she leaned back. The guard remained standing. Another alert pulsed. Statement required final. He opened the channel. The observer's voice came through, quieter now. When did you first realize the situation was compromised? He did not answer immediately. He pictured the shoe under the council table, polished, buckled, alone. Before the order, he said, before the refusal. A pause. What made you act? He answered without hesitation. The child was positioned, not escorted. Another pause, longer. That will be suffic. Ain't for now, the observer said. The channel closed. Charlotte looked at him. Are they going to be angry with you? Yes, he said. Are you sorry? He considered the question carefully. No. She nodded once, then looked toward the opaque window. I'm glad you were there. The guard felt the words settle, not as relief, but as responsibility renewed. Outside the room, the palace continued to realign itself, quietly absorbing the impact of a refusal that had been logged, reviewed, and frozen into record. Containment held. But containment, he knew, always created pressure. And pressure, given time, demanded release. The first sign that containment was ending came without sound. The guard noticed it in the way the corridor lights outside the opaque window shifted to full brightness. Not a warning, an announcement. Movement was coming back into circulation. Charlotte noticed it too. People are walking again, she said. Yes, the guard replied, which means decisions have been made. Her shoulders tightened slightly, then relaxed. She had learned that motion did not always mean safety, but stillness never meant resolution. The door opened a fraction. The external observer stepped in alone this time. No clipboard, no pad, just her. We're transitioning, she said, not resolving. The guard nodded. He had expected as much. The record has been secured, she continued. Multiple copies, independent custody, it won't be altered. That was the priority, the guard said. For you, she replied. For others, the priority is what happens next. She glanced briefly at Charlotte, then back to him. Custody remains with you for now. That will be challenged. Yes, he said. You will be reassigned, she added, effective immediately. The guard felt the shift, not loss but displacement. Where? Within scope, the observer said. Outside proximity. Charlotte's head turned sharply. No. The word came out before she could stop it. The observer knelt to Charlotte's level. Not as a tactic, she moved too carefully for that. This isn't a punishment, she said. It's a process. Charlotte looked at the guard. He did not reassure her. Reassurance that might be revoked was worse than silence. Will he still be my guard? Charlotte asked. The observer hesitated. He will still be a guard, she said, for now. The distinction landed cleanly. The guard watched Charlotte absorb it. What about the order? The guard asked. It stands as issued, the observer replied. And as refused, both are now permanent. The door behind her opened wider. The coordinator waited outside, posture formal, eyes avoiding Charlotte. We move in 5, he said. The observer stood. You did your job, she said to the guard. You should know that. I know what I did, the guard replied. She nodded once and left. Charlotte stood up slowly. She adjusted her jacket on her own this time. The motion was imperfect, human. Are they going to separate us? She asked. Yes, the guard said. Not right now. She took a breath. Will I see you again? That depends on what they decide, he said. Then after a pause, and what you remember. She frowned slightly. I'll remember. The guard did not respond. Memory was not always protection. Sometimes it was leverage. The door opened fully. The corridor beyond was populated again, controlled, watchful. People looked at the guard differently now, not with admiration, with awareness. Charlotte took one step forward, then stopped. She reached out, not grabbing, not clinging, just placing her fingers briefly against the back of his hand. The contact lasted less than a second. It was enough. Thank you, she said. He inclined his head, not a bow, an acknowledgement. They walked out together, but not side by side. The space between them was measured, intentional. Already the separation had begun. Behind them, the room lights dimmed. Ahead, the palace absorbed the record it could not erase. And the guard understood that what followed would not be about orders anymore. It would be about consequences. They stopped at the junction where routes divided. Charlotte was guided left, toward the residential wing now under layered supervision. The guard was directed right, toward administrative transit. No barrier stood between them. No hand intervened. The separation was executed through choreography alone. The guard halted when instructed. Charlotte took 2 steps, then looked back. No one corrected her. Their eyes met across the narrow span of polished stone. In that moment, the guard understood the finality of what had been decided, not that he was removed, but that his presence now carried weight others preferred at a distance. Charlotte lifted her chin slightly, not a question, a decision. She turned and continued walking. The guard did not watch her disappear. He fixed his gaze forward, as protocol required, even when protocol had already taken its due. The corridor ahead narrowed into security gray, administrative space, no wind. Dows, the soundscape changed, less echo, more insulation. This was where people went to be reassigned quietly. The coordinator walked beside him for several steps before speaking. "You'll remain under review." "Yes," the guard replied. "You'll be asked why you didn't stand down." "Yes." "You'll be told you misunderstood intent." "Yes." The coordinator glanced at him. "You didn't." "No," the guard said. They reached a checkpoint. His access badge was scanned. Some permissions cleared, others did not. The list was long enough to matter. "You're not in trouble," the coordinator said, almost reflexively. "I know," the guard replied. Trouble implied misconduct. This was something else. This was institutional discomfort. The coordinator hesitated, then added, "For what it's worth." The guard raised his hand slightly. "Not dismissive, final, it's not." The coordinator nodded, accepting the boundary. The guard was escorted to a temporary office. Sparse, neutral, a place designed to receive statements, not people. A recorder sat centered on the desk, already active. He did not sit immediately. On the far wall, a monitor displayed a single line of text. Incident log status, closed, review pending. Closed, not resolved. He sat. The recorder light remained steady. He gave his statement without embellishment. Timings, locations, words spoken exactly as remembered. He did not speculate, he did not diagnose, he described. When it was finished, the recorder shut itself off. Silence followed, not waiting silence, completion. Later, how much later he did not know. His console updated one final time. Reassignment confirmed. No location, no duration, just confirmation. The guard stood, adjusted his uniform, and left the office unescorted. The corridor outside was empty again. The palace had returned to equilibrium, absorbing disruption the way old structures always did, by redistributing weight. As he walked, he passed a window overlooking the inner courtyard. Children were not permitted there during sessions. It was empty now. He did not stop. Because records, once made, did not belong to rooms or corridors. They belonged to time. And time, eventually, would decide whether the refusal had been an anomaly or a precedent.